Ja. Okay. Hallo, guten Abend. Herzlich willkommen. Welcome to our talk series Unzensiert. And today I'm very happy to welcome Mickey Fonseca, who came all the way from Mozambique to talk with us about his beautiful film Redemption. And I guess maybe you haven't seen it. Can you give a short introduction of what's happening in your film?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting me. My film is a film based in Mozambique. It's shot in Mozambique, in Maputo. It's a film about struggles. It's about a guy who comes out of jail and he wants to go right, do the right thing with his family and his new baby. And then he's surprised by a bank summons, and his late mother pawned the house that he lives in. And he has to pay the debt, $30,000 debt, or lose the house. So he has to make certain decisions that will influence his life, his path. And that's what the film is about. It's about the decisions that he takes and the roller coaster that it leads to.
Yeah. I enjoyed it very much to watch it. It was really, like the roller coaster. I really get sucked into the story, and you never really know what happened and what decisions you would take and what not. And so it was surprise and surprise after surprise. It was really good. And it was your first long feature film, right?
Yeah, it's my first feature film. It's an independently produced feature film. We produced it, me and my partner. We have a production company in Mozambique, and we shoot commercials. So for 8 years almost, we saved money, bought gear, tried to apply to a few film funds. But I guess because it's a thriller, most film funds don't really fund genre films. So we saved, and after 6 years, we shot the film, and then we worked for another 2 years to take the film to post-production, and it's eventually ready, and we launched it this year in February in Fespaco.
Yeah, but this is a lot of energy you put in there, a lot of dedication, and I can hardly imagine how much energy it must be to do a film in Mozambique. I mean, already here in Europe, it's hard to get funding and to get a film promoted and to start getting into the film business. Yeah. But in Mozambique, you can tell us about this later. But wait, my question was, why did you choose to dedicate all your energy to exactly this story? Why did you want to tell us the story of Bruno?
Because I feel like it's a struggle that everyone goes through in Mozambique. I wanted to tell a story about now, what's happening now in Mozambique, and the access to work, to jobs, to banks, and the things, and especially with the banks and the high interest rates and how people really get tangled up. I mean, you ask for a loan and it's between 27 and 30%. How do you pay it back? If you don't have the structure to pay it back. So I wanted to tell a story about the difficulties that people are going through now, and that they could relate and see themselves on screen, Most importantly, I made this film for the Mozambican people. It's a story that's universal, that could happen here in Germany or in Bolivia or in Swaziland or anywhere. But it's a story that takes place in Maputo, and I really wanted the people to feel that, to see their city for the first time, to feel the struggles and identify with this character. And that's why I chose the story to, And also to what I realized, you saw the film, it takes you on a whole kidnapping spree. Those things happen in Mozambique, And a lot of young people were being arrested because they were getting involved in these crimes. So I wanted to understand a little bit more, why are these people getting involved in such dangerous crimes? But it's because they were desperate. People get desperate and they take desperate decisions that end up, affecting their futures and their lives. So I chose the story so that people could really see themselves and identify. with the issue.
I remember especially the scene in the bank where, because he has to pay back the loan, and that's why he's getting in all this struggle, and the bank is not showing any mercy. And for me, this was also a very political moment. Do you consider your film as a political film or as a social film or something, or do you just say it's art and it's the story of Bruno and?
A little bit of everything, you know. Like I said, I made the film for Mozambican people. There are certain layers in the film that you won't see that the Mozambican people will see. There are other stories behind the story. So it is a bit social. It's a bit. There are a few political criticisms that you know that I call out in the film. That Mozambican people will definitely understand. So yeah, I didn't want to make like a political statement or criticize the government or anything. I wanted to tell a story that people could relate and people would understand that it's because of certain political decisions that lead, you know, people to these difficulties. Yeah.
And where do you see the struggle coming from? Also, where do you see the roots of this struggle? Or don't you really care about where the roots are? It's just there, the struggle, and you want to show it?
I care because I'm a part of it. You know, it's bad decisions. It's bad decisions. It's greed. It's corruption, especially with the banks. There are banks, for example. The same bank that operates in Portugal is the same bank that operates in Mozambique, but the interest rates are completely different, you know. So I really wanted to press the bank issue, you know, because it is a problem. A lot of people go for small loans and end up losing a lot of stuff because it's 30%, and if you can't pay it, then it just keeps getting higher and higher. So my point was towards the banks and the laws that are created and that the government accepts, you know, because these banks, most of the banks are not even Mozambican, and not even Mozambican run. That the money comes from Europe, it comes from the US or from a group of African nations, you know. But there are no benefits. There's really not much of a choice, you know. So people get strangled in this dead system, and it becomes a vicious cycle that you can't get out of.
Yeah. And how was it received? How did people react in Mozambique?
Oh, it was great. It was really good. The film is the first feature film in Mozambique, independent film, you know. So we are the producers, we are the sales agent, we are the distributors, we are the ones that put up the posters, we do everything. So it was tough to get the film into commercial cinemas because we have to deal once again with Portugal and it's a whole bureaucracy. But we managed to get the films into the cinemas and it was a huge success. We had like 6 weeks in the cinemas, many sold out sessions, great reviews. It was really positive. The people felt represented and they were seeing themselves on screen for the first time,
And did you also get some political feedback maybe or inside some discussions or anything?
See, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think the government cares, you know, the government doesn't really care. We made the film, we launched the film, we invited the Minister of Culture, he didn't come. The film stayed for 6 weeks in the cinema, no one said anything. You know, we came to Hamburg, we announced to everybody, nobody said anything.
Okay.
You know, it's like we don't exist, you know. I think it's easier for them to ignore, you know, than because once they approach, then maybe I think they fear that they're gonna have to, you know, to deal with it and have to answer certain questions. So completely ignored.
How do you deal with that?
How do I deal with it? It's a bit tough, you know. It's tough for us to make. We made the film ourselves. There's no funds in Mozambique, you know. There are absolutely zero funds. There's a film office, but there's no funds. The laws are not there to like make anything easier. It's like everything is just difficult. You want to close off a road, for example. they just come up with stupid laws, sorry, but really stupid laws, because if you want to, for example, if you want to close this road to shoot a film or commercial, you would pay something like $300 an hour, okay?
Yeah.
But if you wanted to close the same street to do a market, then you would pay $100 a day. So, you know, filmmakers are starting to feel that maybe the government doesn't want us to tell these stories. Maybe the government doesn't want us to make films. That's why they don't respond. That's why they don't promote. They don't think about, you know, let's create a fund. Let's try and build this industry, because we had an industry before, you know. And it died. Industry. Yeah, we had a filming industry before, and it mainly documentary, but it was there, you know, and there were funds, and there were not state funds, but the state like opened certain doors. But then politicians change. These guys move. Another guy comes in with a different idea, different views, and things just changed overnight.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about how you managed at the end to bring this film to the cinemas and to make it, to produce it first of all?
Perseverance, you know. It's about not taking no for an answer. We like I said, we tried with the funds. We couldn't get money from the funds. That's when we realized we really wanted to make the film. We wanted to make a film that was independent, made with Mozambican money. So for all those years, we saved and we bought gear. You know, we bought a lot. We lights, we bought cameras, because we also don't have those things. You don't have rental companies or anything. If you want to shoot a film with good quality of light or in cameras, you have to go and rent it in South Africa, and it costs a lot of money. So we decided to save the money and buy the gear. You know, so slowly we bought gear. We would travel and check online, you know, guys selling gear in LA, in Germany, in Frankfurt, and we would buy slowly, and then all of a sudden we had like a full warehouse of gear. That's when we realized, okay, it's time to shoot, which made it really good. This process was hard, you know, but I believe that for the next film it will be less hard, you know, because we have a warehouse full of gear. We don't have to worry about the gear. We can worry about other things now, you know. So it was a tough process, and getting the films into the cinemas as well. It's a process, because cinemas take films from distributors, from sales agents. We have none of that. We do everything, you know. So it was a really hard process. And in this process, we also found that, you know, that all these big chains of cinemas don't really respect independent filmmakers, you know. They didn't do anything. They just took the film. We had to do all the advertising, all the call-outs for people to come and watch the film, because they just gave us the space and immediately told us we're taking 50%, you know. Okay. So they were just there for the money, so it's really tough. But it's worth it in the end, you know.
Why is it worth it?
It was worth it. For me, it was worth it because it was greatly accepted by the people, you know? And that, for me, was just overwhelming. It was, for you to work like for 8 years to make a film, and you become really nervous, you know? What are these people? And in the process of making the film, 3 years before we made the film, we launched a crowdfunding campaign, which was new in Mozambique. We were the first ones to do a crowdfunding campaign. And with this crowdfunding campaign, we realized that people really wanted a Mozambican film, because they never gave much money, but they gave. And we created a fan base, you know, for when the film came out. So people were following it, and we would feed them with information all the time, and we were shooting little clips so people could follow it. And those that believed and gave some money for the film will believe even more for the next film, because we made the film, you know. And it was really gratifying to after all these years, for the people to accept it, you know. We felt accepted. We felt like it was really worth all this time. all this effort. Yeah.
And how much effort or thoughts did you put in the storytelling, in the narrative patterns, in the style, and the camera work? I mean, I have not much clue about Mozambican storytelling, but maybe you can tell us. I saw some similarities to some gangster films from the US, but can you tell us about how you developed your art of storytelling there?
Well, I started working on film in Cape Town, you know, in the Cape Town film industry. I worked there for 6 years in commercials and feature films, and I learned a lot from international directors. You know, I was fortunate enough to be working with people that were open to teach, to guide. You know, and from those influences, I built my own vision of the film from films that I also watched, like French films, Italian gangster films, because I wanted to tell a thriller story. I wanted to, you know, action, like make people come and watch the film and like be engaged in the film, be sucked in. Not I'm not a very static type of filmmaker with static camera positions. I'm more, you know. So I wanted that chaos of the city, of his life, you know, of what he was going through, to be represented in the camera movements, in his actions, in the locations that, you know, in the clothes that he's wearing, everything. Like, if you watch the film again, you'll see, like, as his problem gets, his clothes also start to change, and it becomes much redder, and you know, and as he gets into the crime, then it's completely like blood. So we had a vision of showing the city and not making it a postcard. You know, this is not a tourist film. It's a film of like showing the parts that you wouldn't see in Mozambique, the parts that most Mozambicans don't see. You know. And that was great, because Mozambicans were also, whoa, this place exists, that place exists, you know, because they never see it. They're in this tourist postcard, you know, of like certain emblematic places that people usually use in their films, and we wanted to get away from that. We wanted the gritty, the rough, the realness, you know, and that this character brings as well.
There's a lot of talking about like an African way of storytelling or a European way of storytelling, and how that's, yeah, the European way is kind of suppressing the African way of storytelling, or how the Africans were receiving the European, you know what I mean. How do you see this, and can you find something of that in your film? Or did you even think about it while doing that film?
I didn't think about it, you know. I completely, like, I didn't want to make a film that the funds dictated how I should make it and how I should tell my story. And going through this, and with certain producers that I hooked up with the funds, I started feeling that, you know, that we had to change certain things, and we really didn't want to compromise. We wanted to make our story. Whether people think that it looks a bit American, or it looks a bit French, or, you know, but these are the influences of the films that I watch, and of the story. The story called for it, so we had to go in that direction. Yeah. We in Europe, and also especially in Germany, we know Africa from stories that Europeans told us. Yeah, the European way of filmmaking or looking on Africa. I guess you also know a lot of those films. Yes. How do you feel and think about this? Look, I respect, you know, every filmmaker. Every filmmaker's got a point of view, has got a different way of seeing, of wanting to tell a story. I guess, like, those filmmakers that make those type of films, in a way, you know, wanting, I wouldn't say that they're forced to make the films in the European way, or maybe they're influenced by that style of film, you know, and they choose to follow that path because of the influences that they have, you know. It's not my style, but I completely respect it, and I like some of the films that I watch. Yesterday I watched the film here, You Will Die at 20. It's a very, you know, African type of film that defines with fun, and I loved it. You know, I have absolutely nothing against it.
But what do you mean with this way of storytelling? Do you mean the topics or the view on Africa or
the topics? Like for instance, on yesterday's film. Let me talk about yesterday's film. For instance, if you look at that film, let's talk about that film. It's a postcard, you know. It tells you about it's a cultural postcard, you know. It's like the Nollywood films. You'll see the clothes, the music, the African music, the drum beats, the two wives, or the guy that wants this wife but he can't because the other one's got more money and he buys it. It's common things that you see in African films. In our film, we never wanted to go in that direction. We didn't want to make like a film that's just got traditional music. No, that was a postcard with just drumming and showing how we dance or what we eat or what we wear. We wanted to sway from that because we're not like that, you know. At least not me, not in the city. We dress like you guys, we talk like you guys, or like any other country in the world. And this is the story that I wanted to tell in that way. It's not a village film, it's a city film. You know? And it's not a tourist postcard.
Yeah, yeah. And what's the next story you want to tell? You already have one?
Yeah. The next story I want to tell is about xenophobia. You know, it's about what's happening in South Africa. So I've started developing a script which tells 3 different stories about a Mozambican guy, a South African guy, and a Nigerian woman. And their paths cross while this whole xenophobic thing is happening in South Africa. And hopefully, we're going to start looking for money soon and try to make the film. I don't know. I hope it doesn't take another 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. I read in one of the interviews I found from you on the web that something really basic, but anyhow, I found it very giving. I don't know. If you want to make a film, you need a team. I mean, of course, you need a team, but it sounded like there's a lot of much more behind that sentence. What's behind that sentence in that film?
Everybody embraced the film, you know. The team that we work with, shooting commercials and shooting and doing service work for other companies, is the same team that worked in the film. It's 100% Mozambican. And this team gave their all, you know, for almost no money, you know. But they believed in it. They pushed us to make it. The team really pushed us to make the film. And we came to a point where we couldn't stop because we had this whole team behind us, whether we had money or not.
For 8 years,
they wanted us to make the film. For 8 years, the same team, yeah. Same team.
How did you convince them, or how did you get them for 8 years?
Because we are like, this is the first film that's being made by young people, you know? Most of the films are made by older generations, guys in their 60s that started making films like in the 70s and have like a broad database of contacts and access to the film funds. And so these are the same guys that are making films all the time. There's 3 or 4 guys that same guys. And the young crew felt like we need a story now. And they identified with the story, with the character. They believed in it, and they went for it, and they pushed us. Yeah.
So, and how much collaboration went into the storytelling then? Was it always you with the hat who said, no, Bruno's going right, no, they is going left?
Yeah, most of the times it's me with the hat, but we work as a team. My partner in the company is also the director of photography and the editor, and we both produce. So we work a lot together, you know, and we plan quite a lot. We plan the whole film. We shot the whole film in pictures before we actually, you know, we would take the actors to the locations, rehearse with them, and shoot the whole thing. So we shot it in pictures and in little video cameras, the whole film, before we shot it again properly with the proper crew. So it was a process. It was a collaboration, especially with the actors. The actors brought a lot in, you know. And we had a lot of pre-production to fine-tune it and the story, especially the script, to make sense, to be coherent, you know. It was a big collaboration. I didn't do it myself, no. I was the director, yes. I wrote the film. I came up with the idea. I wrote the film, but I shared a lot because I know filmmaking is collaboration. I can't make the film by myself, you know. And I truly believe in that. And I think that gave the team, you know, the openness to suggest, to feel a part of it, because I'm open. So when, you know, I'm not perfect. I'm not Hitchcock. that you know, everything is right. Whatever I see is right. So it was a lot of collaboration, which I'm super grateful for, because the whole crew felt like it was their film, you know, and they wanted the best for it.
Okay, thank you. Time is unfortunately up. We have one more question from the audience, maybe? No? There's one question.
Which language is the film? Is it in Portuguese or yes? And did you work with professional actors?
Great question. The film is in Portuguese, yes. I use a lot of slang, a lot of street talk, because the characters are gangsters, you know. It's a lot of street talk. The actors, most of the actors are professional actors, theater actors, but the main actor is a non-actor. The main actor is a non-actor. He'd never been in the film before. It took a while for us to find him. But when we found him, he wasn't an actor. But he had this look, he had this feeling, he had this energy, you know. So we worked with him for 2 years. While we were like raising money, we worked with him. We workshopped him. We put him in theater groups. We put him like with the other actors, collaborating with them, learning from them. We made him spend a lot of time with the actress who's the girlfriend in the film, for them to get to know each other, and for her to give him tips. But he was completely dedicated. For a guy that had never made a film, he was really on it, you know. You see the beginning of the film, he's coming out of jail, he's like got all the hair and the beard. He had to grow that hair and beard for 8 months, you know.
Another 8 months.
Yeah, and he was walking around the city, and people were thinking that he was going crazy. What's going on with this guy with his beard and hair? But he really took it in. He took the character, and at the end of the film, I don't think he was sure which one he was. You know, it took him a while to get off Bruno.
Yeah. How long did you shoot?
We shot for 40 days.
Okay.
Yeah. So we shot for 30 days, and then we stopped. It was December, so we stopped for the holidays, and we went and looked at the rushes, and we came back in January, and we shot, and we fixed whatever we thought wasn't right, and we shot for another 10 days, but in total 40 days. Yeah. And then we went for post-production, which took almost 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
We wanted to color grade the film, so we color graded the film in Portugal, so we needed the money to take the film to Portugal, and for us to go to Portugal and color grade it. And we did the sound in South Africa, the sound mix. But the soundtrack is all Mozambican, made by young. We mixed, you know, young, old, traditional, electronic, a little bit
Yes,
of
you
both,
can feel that, yeah.
everything that we listen to, and that influences us, you know. So yeah, it was really good to make the film. It was a tough experience, but I would do it again.
Good. Thank you. You can watch it tonight at 9 at Metropolis Kino, and maybe, hopefully, in a few weeks, month in the normal cinemas, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.